Hi, Gravel Bike California here in Santa Barbara, where luckily I didn't grow a mustache because we're here at Handlebar Coffee, which is more about cycling than it is about facial follicularity. Today, we're going to be doing one of the most iconic climbs in California, Gibraltar Road, which is known for its great views, storied history in the Tour of California, but a lot like Mount Baldy, not only is it a great climb, but there's dirt afterwards. Unfortunately, we're going to be doing about 7,000 feet of climbing today and only 45 miles, which should keep everyone here really happy. Let's go. We started on the northern end of town, putting us by the Santa Barbara Mission. As we left the city grid behind, making our way up the hills. We missed the turnoff to Mountain Drive, which helped me reevaluate who should be at the front. It was a quick redirect to Mountain Drive, passing the staging riders by the reservoir, where Gibraltar Road originates right after. For Strava geeks, the main segment begins at the next stop sign, as you also start your foray of Pacific Ocean views. The climb feels longer than its listed 6.1 miles, but its overall grade of 8% has something to do with that. The first mile and a half takes a wide arc up the landscape, as you wonder, with these big views of the coast and the road behind, how did you get so high this quickly? Gibraltar then bends in for the next mile, which feels relatively flat until you redirect westward with a slew of reminders not to be using your firearms. Calling this Gibraltar's second act, the landscape becomes rockier, tighter switchbacks come into play, and the turns more punchy, as you should be aware of other riders coming down. While this is where you'll be giving your saddle a rest, you can't complain about what you see in front of you. You get a short reprieve, going by your last patch of homes, getting an artsy goodbye, leaving you with a mile and a half of climbing. The last big switchback normally stages hang gliders, as the climb now becomes enclosed for the last kilometer, with Camino Cielo converging from above. The crossing signals the end of the climb, and while there's more riding ahead, you'll find a number of cyclists taking a proper pause. So here we are at the top of Gibraltar, where we merged on Camino Cielo. Now, most people continue on west, but Gibraltar actually peels off in a few hundred feet. We go down, we get dirty. It's just a little road ahead before Gibraltar transitions into dirt, where the adventure only grows.
No shooting.
I hope they're not referring to half-assed gravel videos. As the sign says, it's a 7-mile descent to the dam, wiggling its way in a crescent-shaped manner down towards the Santa Ynez River. You go in and out of the shadows on the north side of the ridge, enjoying great trail conditions and views deep across the Los Padres forest. The shadows also provided an ideal spot to take in fall. So much so that I was forced to shoot again in slow-mo. The second half allowed me to shed my vest for all this high-speed coasting, which fortunately led up briefly, passing this Easter Island assemblage of rocks. You dive around the last few curves, but don't take that too literally. Otherwise, you'll be fishing your bike out. So the Gibraltar Dam has been serving Santa Barbara for over a century. And if you look at it literally, it's opened the floodgates. You'll still see some flowing from the Santa Ynez River below you as you follow it downstream for another 3 miles of dirt that has a hillier profile than the waterway, but at least pays off with some amazing views. Wish I was a little bit more up on my geology like Kirk Johnson, but this is pretty amazing. Top of seeing some of the old water deposits up on the mountain. Enjoy the next mile, because it'll be your last significant amount of downhill dirt of the day as you exit out to the Red Rock Trailhead. The next 4 miles are a nice straightforward change of pace as you keep flipping sides across the riverbed, which is hopefully dry when you're out there. It's a nice way to make up time, but before you know it, your focus will be back on dirt. I don't know about you, but I always find it comforting when the map issues its own self-correction underneath.
It may be confusing.
You drop across the Santa Ynez River, which you're thankful for being paved earlier, before the real climb begins. Arroyo Burro Road is 5.3 miles of pure off-road climbing, averaging 6.9%, which is not to be confused with the Arroyo Burro Trail, which splits off a mile into the climb. The start is mostly shaded and accompanied by equestrian-friendly campgrounds, as you realize the road is appropriately named by looking at the tracks below. In fact, we crossed paths where each of us had our own takes on horsepower. Howdy. I think we're good. They gave us info on the trails, but of course, the talk turned to gravel bikes.
E-bike.
Gravel bike with the battery on it.
Yeah, they call them
Yeah.
Well, the shifting's electronic. But the, oh, yeah.
I don't think they were going to trade though. Arroyo Burro was consistent enough that we didn't have to consider other options. Enjoying a grade that didn't fluctuate too much while still noticeably gaining elevation fast. As you exit, you cross the prohibited shooting range, where we had the rare occurrence of not seeing prohibited shooting take place. But maybe some military presence, albeit for a film shoot, had something to do with that? While the dirt is done, don't pat yourself on the back yet, as you still have 1.5 miles of vert left to tackle. More climbing! Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Take advantage of these slower speeds for some of the last views we're stopping for, as the ride got high marks, even with a third of it still left.
Well, I think it's even better than Refugio, which is a top-notch ride. So that makes this upper echelon.
Wow.
Wait. There.
Boy. It shouldn't matter at this point if your front derailleur cable snapped, because with this wide open downhill, you'll be big rigging it from this point on. Painted Cave Road isn't hard to miss, as it's the first turnoff, where it's nice to see homes again, especially the one that leaves resupplies for cyclists. The road narrows to just one lane in both directions, with a crazy set of curves, bringing a new definition to switchbacks. To the reason for the road's namesake. While the coastline has been inhabited by indigenous people for over 10,000 years, behind this protected cave, these astrological representations by the Chumash are estimated to have been painted less than 1,000 years ago. The descent continues as it opens back up to views of the ocean that many others will drive up for. The rest of Painted Cave Road is directionally like a twisted ball of twine until it straightens out right before your Frogger moment crossing the 154. If you're lucky enough to not insert another quarter, the other side turns into San Marcos Road, which we covered before in our Refugio video. But it's the most fun of this descent because the road opens up a bit more and not as much braking is needed as above. It's about 4 miles back to base camp through city streets, and there's plenty of options to resustain to top off this amazing ride. Well, I can easily say this is a top candidate for Ride of the Year. Just the climb of Gibraltar alone is worth the trip, but going down around the San Ynez River, I mean, I'm having trouble at this point really processing it, but I know up here that today was a great day. Anyways, please subscribe over here to Gravel Bike California or support us on Patreon. I don't know if I can beat that this year, but we'll still be making more videos. Take care.